my gosh, everybody, it's Montell Jordan. Oh, old school. This is how we do it. Yeah, so I actually saw Montell Jordan maybe 3 weeks ago. Um, saw an opportunity to go to a Warriors playoff game with Ellen. And well, my friend, he was generous enough to let me buy some of his season ticket holder playoff tickets at cost. And Montell Jordan was there. Now, first of all, it's cool just because Montell Jordan decided to show up and sing at halftime, and he did this song. This is how we do it. But as a music theory teacher, it's crazy because this is one of the few songs that are on the radio that are in the Phrygian mode. What on earth is the Phrygian mode? Okay, theory geeks, you know what the Phrygian mode is about. You know it's not the most common mode. The most common mode by far is Ionian. Maybe second most common is Aeolian. And depending on which genre you're looking at, the next few are maybe Mixolydian and Dorian, but Phrygian is probably way down the list. Not because it's not good, but just because it's kind of maybe a little bit not that easy to deal with in terms of like a songwriting perspective, you know, to make it sound fresh and sound like it works out and everything kind of fits in the right place. But when you do it right, you get this is how we do it, and you get this 5-5-4-5 flat 6-5, which is part of the Aeolian mode too. But then you have the bass line goes bum bum bum. Okay, I'll sing it bum 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 bum. Right there, bum 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 is a half step. So the main note of the song is right here. I don't know what key it is, but I think it's probably, if I sing A, my lower note is A in my vocal range. I kind of memorize that, and that's A, E, probably. So the song, if I'm guessing correctly, it's in the key of E, and it moves up to an F for a chord progression change right there. So it goes 1, 2, and 3, and 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. And for 2 beats, it goes up a half step. You almost never hear this in pop music because you don't really go up by a half step from 1 to a flat 2 very often in pop music. Another great example is Dr. Dre's, I believe it's Gin and Juice. Gin and Juice has elements of Phrygian and elements of Locrian, which makes me wonder if Montell, if Dr. Dre are closet theory nerds, because you don't really, play with those types of sounds too often unless you've been introduced by somebody else. Because when you take the classical route, or you maybe even learn music through the church route, it's very very common in gospel tradition. You end up picking up stuff from singing in the choir, singing in the choir, and playing with the organist and playing with the piano. It's very, very common to kind of learn just by rote. And Phrygian, it's not something you hear that often in church services. It's not something you hear that often in music of the Bach, period, the Common Practice era. You just don't hear it that often. So had to show you the Montell Jordan Phrygian mode. For the Phrygian mode, how do you play that? Okay, how do you play the Phrygian mode? Well, the Phrygian mode is just the third mode of the major scale. So it's actually E. If we were in E Phrygian, it would be the exact same notes as the key of C major. What? Yeah, that's right. Key of C major, all the white keys on the piano. You start on maybe the 3rd fret of the 5th string on the guitar. That's C major. It's the same C major, exact same notes as C major, except E becomes the main note. And when E becomes the main note, and all of the melodies and all of the chords keep coming back somehow to E, or a chord on E, which would be E minor, your perception of the entire flavor of all the pitches changes. It's weird. The same notes can be experienced in multiple ways. That's the craziest thing about modes. We don't even have time to get into all of, what's great about modes, and all the different modes that are out there. And each mode probably deserves its own video or more. But Phrygian is just such a cool mode. Radiohead uses elements of it in Pyramid Song. You can hear a snippet of it in Lucky right before they go back into the second verse. Also in E Phrygian, and Colin plays his low F for a couple of beats, and he plays it twice, so it's very intentional. It's not like they made some kind of mistake and they did E Aeolian, in the verse, and then E Dorian in the chorus, and then right before the second verse in Lucky, there's a touch of E Phrygian, and it's just like so fascinating when you think about it, because as a songwriter, you can use these different modes to write interesting melodies, interesting chord progressions. So again, what is that E Phrygian sound? It comes from using all of the white keys from E to E, just the same way that you would use them if you were playing C major, except they're experienced differently when you write with E as the main note, when there's a melody or there's a chord progression that keeps bringing you back to E. And so that chord progression, you can hear that classic Phrygian sound when you play E minor, which is your 3-note chord EGB, to F major, FAC, and then you go back. E minor, F major, E minor. Go try it. It sounds super dark. It sounds very, very different from if you were to go C major, D minor, C major. Now, what is C major, D minor? What does that have to do with it? Well, if C major is your main note, and you just go up a note in the scale and play a new chord on that, that's C major, D minor, and then you back to C major. But in E Phrygian, if E minor is the main chord, you get E minor, F major, E minor, and the relationships between those two chords are totally different from the relationships between C major and D minor. You see that? So C major is a major chord, duh. D minor is a minor chord. So from a major chord going to a minor chord, it's going to sound completely different from E minor going to F major, because you got a minor chord going to major chord. But not only that, the distance between C major and D minor is a whole step. Okay? And E minor to F major is a half step. Now, this is the smallest distance in Western music between this note and that note. It's a half step. Our whole octave is built of 12 half steps. Every scale is built using whole steps and half steps. But a half step, a single half step, can make all the difference. It's like adding a squeeze of lemon to your glass of Coca-Cola. It makes all the difference. Man, I sound like I'm like high on life or something, high on music. If it's because if I sound that way, it's because I am. That's what music does, guys. Especially when you think about it. It's just mind blowing. It's like a really good Game of Thrones episode. Whoa, no way. So yeah, that's the episode of Cruisin' today. The Phrygian mode. Montell Jordan touches a bit of Dr. Dre, and then overlaps a little bit with Radiohead. Pyramid Song. Portion of Lucky. It's insane. I'm not making any of this up, folks. Go check it out. Music theory will blow your mind. It'll make you so much more appreciative of the stuff that you love, and not only more appreciative, but more equipped to do all sorts of exploration on your own. Create sounds that resonate with what you're feeling inside. It'll help you express yourself in your songwriting in ways that you never would have been able to before. Playing the same old tired chords, same old tired solo patterns on the 5th fret, doing your A minor pentatonic. I'm going on and on, but all this eventually will be covered in the War on Music series, ideally, I hope. And in the harmony module to come, talk about chords and their relationships, how they move from one to the other and back, and all the different notes in their relationships to each other, not just the root of each chord, but the third, the flat third, the fifth, and just all that. How are you going to hear it all by ear? Oh man, so excited, so excited. Check it out. All right, I gotta go see my fiance and drop something off.